Hey guys, welcome back to the PIS. This is Dogfighting Building Blocks Part 3, Inside versus Outside Roles. So, where do we start? There are some things you never want to do in a dogfight in Star Citizen and 3.4 at least, although I doubt that's likely to change with the next flight model because there are some things you just don't want to do when you're dogfighting. One of them is what's known as an outside role. And this concept is kind of rides on a razor's edge because if you're sitting still, both of the roles look the same, right? But as soon as you add movement in any direction, you can see the difference. So we're going to start here with an up strafe, and you can see that as I up strafe, I'm obviously moving up towards the target. If I stop in front of the target and I roll to my left, it looks a lot like me rolling to my right, okay? So here's where it gets tricky. If you offset him to me just slightly to the left or just slightly to the right, one of the rolls becomes an inside roll, one of the rolls becomes an outside roll. So here we go, we're going to strafe up, and I'm going to strafe to the left. In this case, this would be an outside roll because his ship is now underneath me. And now we're going to come back, I'm going to strafe up and go to the right, roll to the right. And once again, this is an outside roll because he's now underneath me, okay? So if they're dead in front of you, either roll is an outside roll. Okay, which means you need to set them somewhere else besides directly in front of you. So if we move him off to the left and I strafe up and I roll to my left, I'm now performing an inside roll, which means I'm ending the roll with my target above me or in my cockpit glass. So it's an interior inside roll. If I up strafe here with him on my left and I roll to the right and I don't fix my nose using the previous video, which is nose facing, I've now performed an outside roll and he's underneath me. Which means before I can shoot him, I have to find him again by pitching down and locating his ship. Versus if I reset his here and I come to the bottom again, strafe up, throw the left roll, and roll inside, my pips are nearly on target when this technique ends. Now some of you more astute might look at this and say, okay, but all I have to do is an outside roll and push my nose in. And that is actually accurate. However, it's just not a habit you want to get into. Outside rolls require different hand movements, and they require extension hand movements, which I'm not a fan of for a couple reasons, one of which just because it seems to have a lot less finesse than pulling hand movements. So, for example, when I push forward on the stick versus pulling back, same way that left yaw feels better than a right yaw. So, but regardless, there's lots of reasons why you don't want to do outside rolls. For the sake of argument, at this point, you're going to just take my word for it till we get a little bit farther, and I'll kind of address some of the pieces of why it's really important slightly later on. But just need to understand the concept that there's two kinds of rolls, inside and outside. And there are times when you may need to do an outside roll to be evasive or to line up a shot or any number of things. And I'm not telling you that you should never do an outside roll. However, what I am telling you is that the interior roll or the inside roll is much more efficient for the style of dogfighting I'm going to show you, and it's also much more efficient for dogfighting in general to keep the to keep the target ship in your glass versus underneath you because it requires less effort and less stick movement to line up the shot. See you next time.